The agenda for today, we are going to be covering 5 different things in our discussion. The first will be the types of GST return forms that the seller will have to be filing. What is input tax credit? We'll understand the meanings, we'll understand everything about input tax credit. How can you claim input tax credit? And the next will be what are the reports provided by Flipkart for you to access your tax and related things, and how do you file GST returns. These are the 5 major things that we will be understanding today. So before we get started, let me give you the schedule for this particular presentation. We will discuss the PPT, the slides of the presentation for about 45 minutes. And the last 45 minutes, we will take care of the Q&A. Any queries that you have, we will be addressing it in the last 45 minutes. So let's get started. Firstly, we are trying to understand what are the forms in GST, how it needs to be filed by the sellers. So the first thing is we have something called GSTR1. GSTR1 is a monthly return that needs to be filed by every registered dealer. It contains the details of all outward sales. When we say outward sales, so any kind of money earning sales that you're making, which is on Flipkart if you're making any sales or otherwise, all of that will come under GSTR1. So why is GSTR1 important? Because it contains all the details of your sales transactions. And since you're a registered dealer, on a monthly basis, you will have to file your GSTR1. The GSTR1 filed by the registered dealer is used by the government to auto-populate GSTR3 for the dealer. So every GSTR filing that happens, they're all interlinked. So if you are filing GSTR1, your dealer will get a GSTR3 which is auto-populated with the details that you have given in your GSTR1. Likewise, you have GSTR2A for the dealers for whom supplies have been made. So all of the reports in GST returns that we filed, they're all interlinked. Majorly from your end, you will have to take care of your GSTR1. That'll auto-populate your GSTR3 and GSTR2A for the dealers. Now, GSTR1 should be filed even if there is nil returns to be filed. Even if you have no business activity happening in that month, it is still your responsibility to go ahead and fill your GSTR1. There are 2 things that you need to understand in GSTR1. So as we understand, GSTR1 is for outward supplies, and based on the very recent update from the government, there are 2 income levels that we're looking at. So any taxpayer whose turnover is up to 1.50 crores and above, and 1.50 crores and below. So if in case you fall under the category which is less than 1.50 crores, then your filing has to be on a quarterly basis. And if you can look at the periods that we have, any filings between July to September, any sales between July to September, your submission date for returns filing needs to be on December 31st of this year. Anything between October to December will be on February 15th. Anything between January to March will be in April 30th. So this is on a quarterly basis. This is because your annual aggregate turnover is up to 1.50 crores on a quarterly basis. It is on the basis of the revised due dates that the government has given. All right. So now let's look at the taxpayers who will be under the purview of more than 1.5 crores. So for more than 1.5 crores, they will have to do the filing on a monthly basis. And for the first period, which is July to October, only for this particular time period, the submission has to be December 31st. But after that, it's on a monthly basis. So November filing will happen in January. December filing will happen in February 10th. January will be March 10th. February will be April 10th, and so on and so forth. So if you can observe, it is on a monthly basis. So only for July to October, it is in December. Post which you will be submitting your monthly aggregates on the 10th of every month. It is filed as per the category of taxpayers. These dates might be very, very important for you. So if you can keep a note of these dates, that will help you in making sure your files are on time. Because as all of you know, there are chances of penalties in case of delay. We are already getting of certain questions. Please do keep these questions in mind. We will answer all of them towards the end. There is one person who wants the session to be in Hindi. To make sure that everybody understands it, we have arranged for an English webinar. So much of Hindi webinar will be scheduled next week. We will definitely invite you for it. But for now, this is going to be an English webinar. Okay, I hope we are clear with this particular part, the GSTR 1, which we have 1.5 crores and below, 1.5 crores and above. Below, you will have to do a quarterly basis submission. And if in case you have 1.5 crores and above, you will have to do a monthly submission. Going to the next kind of form under GST, we have GSTR 2. This is for the suppliers who have entered their sales information made during the taxed month in the form of GSTR 1. It is the task of the recipients to file their receipts of goods or services in the form GSTR 2. This form is a culmination of all the details made by the suppliers and is available for validation for the recipients. Since the details of the supplier's data are already available, this form is auto-populated from such details. So your GSTR 1, if in case you have any suppliers who is already filing for it, that will be auto-populated in GSTR 2. If that is not the case, then you will have to do the filings. But if in case there is one supplier who is already filling his GSTR 1, that will be auto-populated for you in GSTR 2. The dealers will have to approve or amend the transactions one by one to get input tax credit eligibility. We'll talk in detail about how input tax credit works in just about a couple of minutes. But for now, all you have to understand is the dealers will have to approve or amend the transactions if in case you want to get a one-on-one input tax credit eligibility. With respect to your sales on Flipkart, Flipkart will share the commission invoice for the services offered to you, including the details of the GSTs charged. So we will look at how the commission invoice and how the GST charges, everything will be available on Flipkart website. We'll look at that also in about 5 minutes now. Okay. So there are a few other submission deadlines that you need to know. For GSTR 2, so just to reiterate as to what GSTR 2 is, it deals with the inward supplies. When we talk about inward supplies, anything that you make a purchase of will come under your GSTR 2. Whereas GSTR 1 is for your outward supplies. So GSTR 2 forms the period between, so whatever is the period between July to March, the submission deadlines are yet to be announced by the Government of India. Likewise is for GSTR 3. So GSTR 3 is a monthly return which is done as a cumulation of outward supplies and inward supplies along with the payment of the amount of tax. Even this, the period of submission is yet to be announced. We have something called 3B, GSTR 3B, which is a summary of the first and the second GSTR. This is going to be continued till March 2018. So as we were discussing that the dates are very, very important to you, because in case of any kind of a delay, it will result in a substantial amount of penalty for all the sellers. So there are two things that you need to know here. Any late fees paid during the period of July to September is to be credited to the taxpayer's electronic cash ledger. Again, the late fee amount has been reduced substantially. It used to be about 200 per day, which is now 20 rupees per day for nil tax liability. Okay, going to the second point of our discussion, we are now trying to understand the kind of reports that Flipkart shares for you for the sales conducted on Flipkart's website, right? So we have 5 reports that Flipkart gives the sellers. The first one is the consolidated monthly sales report. Next is the GST returns report, and then we have commission invoices report, credit note, and a debit note. So all of these reports are all based on the sales that the seller makes on Flipkart. So let's understand where and how you'll be able to find these reports. So as soon as you enter into your seller portal, you have a tab called performance. Under that we have something called reports. So under the reports tab, the screen that you are looking at right now is a revised screen. Earlier, the screen used to appear differently, but the one that you're looking at now is a recent update that has come, and it is live for majority of the sellers. So in that particular reports tab, if you look at tax reports, you have three kinds of reports. One is the GSTR return report, another is a sales report, and you have a TDS report.
Just to pitch in over here that this is a new report dashboard which is live for very few sellers for now for a testing purpose. You might have a different screen. All the reports are available on your dashboard also, but the appearance would be different on your dashboard. I will also show the current one which the reports dashboard looks like, and the new one, because the new one that we are included in the PPT just to ensure, because the new dashboard will go live for all sellers in about 1 week. So nothing changes. All the reports which are available in your reports dashboard today will still exist, but the appearance and the usability of the report dashboard will enhance, and we are making it more user friendly for sellers to download the report. So the current page which you are seeing it on the PPT is the new report dashboard, which this is how it will look like. But if you are having a old dashboard, this will something look like this. I will show both the screens to you, so you will be able to understand or not to get confused that we are showing some other pages to you. So let's say this is a report center. This is how it is appearing on your dashboard now. Few of you are already live with the new dashboard. This will appear something like this, right? So let me log into old and new report dashboard both and help you understand. I'll train you on both the pages, so you guys will not be confused about the dashboard usability. I am logging into a live seller dashboard to show you both the new report dashboard and the current report dashboard both. As I mentioned, there is no change in the reports availability. It is only the appearance and the look is getting changed on the UI. So whoever are using the current reports dashboard, the page will be like this. Under this, you have something called as tax reports. Under tax reports, there are three reports basically. One is sales report, which is a monthly consolidated sales report that you will get for a given month. You have TDS reports that also you can download it on a monthly basis, where you can see the TDS calculation. And there's another new report that we have introduced specifically to help you file GST returns, is something called as GSTR returns report, right? So if you want to generate any of this report on the old dashboard, you just have to click on generate report and select the month for which that you wanted to download. If I'm going for October, I'll select for October. I'll just click on generate. First, for few seconds it will be queued, and after that you will be able to see the report here with the download button, and when you click on download, the particular report will get downloaded. This is what the report dashboard for most of you now. See, this is how it will be generated now. You can also see the date and timestamp which it got generated. By clicking on download, the .csv file will get downloaded, and it will have all the numbers of your sales for a particular month that you have chosen. Right? This is one. This is how you use the current dashboard. Once the new dashboard is live, the dashboard report dashboard will something look like this. Okay, so here generating reports, the steps will be little different than the current UI. The types will remain same. Whatever the reports that you used to have it over here, in the current one, you have it like this vertically, right, where you can expand and see what are the reports available under here, and the same reports will be available horizontally here. You just have to click on moving the tabs, and you can get to see what are the reports which will be available here. But here directly you cannot generate the report like in the current UI. You can just click on generate report and do it. For that, what you have to do is you have to go to reports, and you have an option called as create new report. You just have to click on create new report. It will ask you which report that you are actually looking at. For example, if you are looking at monthly sales report, just select tax reports and select sales report. It will ask you to choose the month, select the month, and by default it is a .xl sx format. Just click on generate. You can see it is getting generated. You can see the report is getting queued. In next few seconds it will be available for you to download. So this is the only thing that you are changing. Why are we doing this? Because we wanted to keep, and you would have a repository kind of stuff that you can maintain the reports that you have already generated. You might have generated so much of so many reports under reports dashboard, and it will look like a lengthy page. If you want to customize and see that I wanted to know the reports that I have generated only for tax reports and only sales report, I can put a filter. And if I wanted to know how many reports that I have generated for tax report sales for the month of October, then I can only see this, right? There is only one report that I have generated now. The download button will be enabled shortly once the report is ready. You can just download the report and start consuming it. So this is how the difference between old dashboard and the new dashboard. Please don't get confused. Most of you will have this dashboard, but this is going to be changed very soon in a week's time. So you will also have a new report dashboard, which will make your life easy in terms of navigation and generating and downloading the report going forward. So the intent of launching the new report dashboard is we don't want our sellers to refer any other pages to prepare a data. If you want data, there is only one page that you can go and download things, are the report center. That is the reason we are making it like more user friendly for you to navigate and download reports. So this is about it. We will still train you on the new report pages. You understood now the difference. There is no much. You can still download this report using the old report center. There's no problem with that. Don't get confused with the screens that we are using in the PPT.
All right, thank you so much, Akhilesh. So to continue from what Akhilesh was mentioning, so we'll just again go through the screenshots that we have here to generate our tax reports. So as once again, so this is the new dashboard that we are looking at. So the minute we click on tax reports under reports, you will be able to see this page. Here we'll go click on create new report. So there'll be a pop-up which will ask you what kind of report, what subtype of report is it that you want to select. You can select, for in our case, we'll be selecting tax reports and sales reports. So here we have selected tax report, sales report, and we've selected the date range to be October. So the minute you click on generate, you will have the report ready and you can download it and use it. Right, so this is how you will get all the reports that you need for tax purpose, be it TDS, be it GST return reports or your sales reports. Right, so the sales reports will contain the below mentioned details. First will be the seller GSTIN, that will be your GSTIN number, and then we have the event type, which is going to define the number of orders that are sold, returned or cancelled. We have orders shipped from, so from which address the orders are getting shipped, and we'll have the respective HSN codes. So HSN codes, you can again filter by the code and see how many products have been sold by that code and things like that. And then we have final invoice amount, that will be your final amount which the customer has paid. And we have type of tax, that will be your GSTN, or if in case it is a old report that you're generating, whatever are the taxes that you paid before GST, all of those taxes will be reflecting there. Tax value will be reflected, and you'll have your GSTN amount, that is based on your CGST, SGST, IGST or UTGT. Buyer invoice date, so the date on which that particular invoice was generated. Buyer invoice ID, so it is the invoice number of your orders. If it starts with an F, that means it's a forward invoice. If it starts with an R, that means it's a return invoice. And we have the delivery state, to which state was this particular product sent. Was it interstate or intrastate transaction?
Just to pitch in over here, why do we have a dispatch date and delivery date, HSN and all those things on the sales report? This will actually help you to summarize if you want to file a GSTR1 based on the state or based on the HSN. This will help you because on GST, the tax slabs are kind of the tax component will be based on intra-state and interstate transaction. If the dispatch state and the delivery state is same, then it will be SGST, SGST and CGST. If the dispatch state and the delivery state is different, then it will be IGST and so on, like UTGST also applies if you are selling it for a union territory, right? So that is the reason we wanted to keep one report to help you refer for GSTR1, and this is the sales report that you can go on. So we have heard few sellers are actually downloading reports from the payments tab or probably from the orders tab and doing a lot of reconciliation to get the numbers. But for those sellers, I would suggest you would have to refer this particular report if you wanted to know your sales numbers for a given month. And this will have all the details which is actually required to have to file your GST returns.
Okay. Another important note is if in case you're filing for your GSTR1, you will only be doing it on your net sales. So your cancellations, your return orders will not be included in it. It will only be on a successful sale that you're making. So let's understand how do you download the GSTR returns report. It's the same procedure that we follow. We'll go and click on create report. Here, instead of sales report, we've selected subtype as the GSTR returns report. Once it is generated and we download it, now let's understand what the report will contain.
Okay, so now we are into a second report that you can actually generate and use it for GSTR and return filing. That is something called as GSTR returns report. So this report is enabled a month ago for all our sellers to help file GSTR1 and required GSTR filing. Why are we enabling this report for you? Because when you are filing a GSTR1, you have to file section wise, right? There will be a section like section 5B, section 7A to section 13 and all those things. And we wanted to give you a ready-made data for the sales that you have done on Flipkart. So what are the details which are required to be filed under these sections? Those numbers will be readily available for you to fill it on the GSTR returns report. So these are the sub sheets that you will have it under GSTR returns report, and this will have a specific data to be filled under this section. So this will actually, so we have got so many feedback from the sellers, which is very positive, which the sellers who are consuming this report and using it for GSTR filing. And one thing that I want to make sure here is these numbers are only for the sales that you have done it on Flipkart, right? So now Rishita will explain you what are the sections that are there in the report and what is the definition and what are the data available under particular sheet.
Okay, so when you download that particular report, you will be able to see different sheets. It will be an XLS format that will be downloaded,
okay,
and the sheets will be different for different section.
Let me show you one sample report so you will understand. I'm trying to download that file. Just give me a minute. Okay, this is how the file will look like. It will have a help section which will actually help you to understand and consume the report and what are the sections and what are the different sheets with the definition and all those things. And it will have a multiple sheets like this, section 5E in GSTR1, section 7A2 in GSTR1 like this. You would have to refer to a different sheet and the same section which is available on your GSTR1 form on GST portal, and you would have to update the numbers given over here only for Flipkart sale. If you are having offline or selling it on multiple platform, then you would have to consolidate it and file it. So from Flipkart's end, we are helping our sellers to with the data in this format where it will actually help you to quickly file the returns without any hesitation. Right, this is how it will look like. Yeah, back to PPT.
Okay, so we have about 6 sheets in that particular form. So in that particular Excel, so we have something called section 5B for GSTR1, which is going to have your B2C interstate sales, business to customer or consumer interstate sales, And this is only for the invoice value greater than 2.5 lakhs per invoice. I would like to repeat that. It's going to be only for invoice value greater than 2.5 lakhs per invoice. So in one invoice, the value has to be 2.5 lakhs or higher, and it needs to be B2C interstate sales. These will come under your section 5B.
And if you don't have this kind of orders, then that particular section or the sheet will be empty for you.
The next section we have is section 7A2 for GSTR1. This is going to be under interstate B2C supply of goods, excluding invoices having value per invoice as 2.5 lakhs. So anything that is on and above 2.5 lakhs will be under your section 5B. Anything below 5.5 lakhs will be under your section 7A2.
Basically, this will have all your IGST one because it is interstate B2C transaction of all of your orders because excluding 2.5 lakh invoice amount. If you are not having that worth product selling on Flipkart, then all of your interstate orders details will be available in this particular section.
And then we have section 13 in GSTR1. This is for reporting of invoice series details of B2C invoice issued by seller through Flipkart. And then we have a section 12, which is going to be a HSN-wise summary of business to consumer goods supplies made through Flipkart.
This is again like based on our experience, and a lot of sellers are filing returns using the HSN summary. So we thought of having it in the report in section 12. It requires you to file GSTR HSN wise, and we are readily giving you the HSN wise summary on the GSTR report. So one thing that you can download sales report and do a summary of HSN by putting up your table on your sales report, and otherwise you can also refer the GSTR returns report. Go to this particular sheet and you will see HSN wise summary for B2C goods and supplies.
Right. And then we have section 10A1. So this is going to be for reporting of amended sales information for prior periods. So anything that happened in the prior few months before this GST came into picture, any amendment in those sales kind of information needs to be filed. That will go under your section 10A1.
It is not only pre-GST, post-GST also. If you have any amendment for your previous month filing, you can refer those the corrections in section 10A. If there are entries, then it will appear. If not, you will also see this sheet as an empty sheet.
The last one will be section 3 in GSTR 8. So this will be Flipkart's report of GSTN level sales details on GSTN portal before 10th of next month. It will be auto-populated in section C of GSTR 2A for sellers.
Okay, so I guess you sellers should have to have a hands-on after this webinar. You probably can download the GSTR returns filing report and you can refer. And most of you are filing GST returns by your own. You probably might get an idea now that how these things works and how this report works for you. And if you have any queries, you can always contact seller support or post it over here. We will try to resolve it in the webinar itself.
All right. So now let's try to understand how to find commission invoice reports. Again, we will go to our performance tab and reports sub tab. When you click on create new report, we will select invoices as a report type and commission invoice as a sub in report type, and we will give the date range that you want to see the commission invoice for. And the minute you generate, you will be getting a downloaded format of your commission invoice that will contain details like GST commission invoice. That is going to be your monthly commission invoices generated by Flipkart after the 1st of July 2017. You will have a credit note that will be your GST negative commission invoice. So if in a month the net commission charged by Flipkart is negative, then we generate a credit note instead of generating an invoice with negative amount. And then we have a incident credit note. There have been scenarios where the seller is charged excess. So to rectify that particular adjustment, we have a incident credit note that's given. So here we will be paying the money to the seller to adjust the previously deducted commission related charges. And then we have service tax credit note. This is for transactions that are before GST and had service tax charges on those. So if due to any reason service tax is reversed, then a service tax credit note is generated to refund that particular service tax paid to the seller. Then we have service tax commission invoice. This is for all the transactions that are before GST and had service tax charged on those. If due to any reason these transactions are settled after 1st of July, we have something called service tax commission invoice which will be generated. And lastly, we have incident debit note. In case of scenarios where the seller is charged less and it needs to be rectified by us in the later adjustments, a debit note is generated for those adjustments to recover the money from the seller.
Okay, just to add on, when you generate a commission report, you will get a zip folder uh, once you download it. And zip folder will have all of these reports in PDF format. It is not necessary that everybody will get all these 6 PDFs on the file. Whichever is applicable will be available to you. For example, if you don't have any transaction which is service tax regime, you will not have a service tax credit note or you will not have a service tax commission invoice. Whatever is applicable to you, only those documents will be available. We wanted to tell all of this because there are few sellers will have all kind of transaction pre-GST, post-GST, and they will all able to see this report format if it is there, if it is applicable for them. And otherwise, basically you will get a GST commission invoice and a credit or a debit note. And these reports will be on a PDF format.
Okay. So lastly, let's understand as to how you sellers will have to file your GST returns. You have to file your GSTR1 on a monthly basis. This form should include all your outward supply details. As we've seen in the first few slides, GSTR1 is going to be for your outward supply details and needs to be filed on a monthly basis. GSTR2 will be pre-populated from your GSTR1 or any supplier's GSTR1, and this is for your inward supply details. GSTR3 is a consolidated returns filing of your inwards and outward supplies. This is also a pre-populated form that you will get from GSTR1 and GSTR2. And then we have a GSTR3B, which has to be filed as a summary of your inward and outward supplies. So the procedure for you to create your GST returns, you will first have to log on to the GST filing portal, that is gst.gov.in, and on the returns dashboard you will have to select the month and the financial year, so which would be July for this particular filing, because anything between July to September we are going to be filing it in December, right? So July 2017-18 is what you will have to select, and then follow the steps mentioned on the GST government portal and you'll be able to file your GST successfully.